right, we're recording. How are you, Damien?
Mr. Ram Gulam, I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Okay, so you're going to do it the formal way, right?
The formal way, yeah.
All right, just to give some context to people who don't know us or don't know you, I've written a brief outline on who you are on the page so that people know. But we actually known each other for 13 years, right? So
yes,
when I started to teach, I was, I think, 22 or 23. You were 18, and you were the first group I taught. I think you didn't have a teacher for one term, and we kind of crushed the full A-level curriculum over 3 terms or 2 terms. I'm not too sure. And what did we do together? We had days where we just did math the whole day. That's how it was.
yeah.
No other subjects. You guys came to my house before exams and we worked. We had a race on 2 different bikes. You had a dirt bike and I had a Honda, a road bike. We raced. I don't know who won, but we did a lot of stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not good at memorizing things or things from the past. I forget easily, but these are the things I actually remember.
Yeah. No, I remember we were actually talking about the other day. We were obviously finishing doing our A levels, and we just we were really struggling with regards to getting a teacher. Obviously, at back at the time, school was pretty new. So in terms of maths, that was the subject that we were, as a class, having difficulty with, finding the resonance with the teacher that we had back in the past. And then I remember you came through and we kind of said to you, yeah, Mr. Ambulam, like we need to pass this. We've got, like, I think it's a 2-year course, and we had like a year, just over a year to get everything done. So yeah, we were actually in quite a stressful situation, and God sent, you came through, and your I think your intentions, we could all feel we were like there as a team to kind of get us all to pass. So, in hindsight, and then we had fun doing it, even though it was a little bit stressful times. But we had, as you said, we were on motorbikes, racing, having a good time. But I think that's how we learn, is by enjoying, by being curious. As one, we had to learn, we had a deadline, and 2, we had a good time doing it, and 3, I think we all managed to pass, and we all, I think, quite successful in what we do. And I think for me, I still do maths quite a bit in my everyday life. So thank you for that.
You can't get rid of math anyway. Even people who think that they don't use math, they actually design with math, if you want to put it that way. But that's another discussion anyway. But it reminds me of one fundamental theorem in mathematics. There's something which is called the random walk, okay, in mathematics, which tells you that if you start at a point, okay, let's say I get out of my house right now and I walk randomly. Okay, I can go anywhere, right? Let's say you go at each junction, you toss a coin and then deciding whether you move left or right. So that's how a random walk works. So using the random walk, it's not a theory, it's a truth, okay? You can walk randomly, but if you do it an infinite number of times in a 2-dimensional system, so like on Earth, you're going to come back to the initial point.
Okay.
Meaning, okay, let's try to map it to our context now. We had that talk like 1 year ago, the 2 of us through Zoom, right?
Yes.
So randomly you had your path, I had my path. And then something random happens. I'm reading the news, there are bad things happening in SA. I send you a text, are you okay, Damien? And then you tell me you're in Mauritius, and I say, oh, cool, let's have a chat.
Incredible. It's incredible.
And it happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's actually, math.
It's actually it's interesting. It's definitely maths. I also look at it in terms of like energy, because sometimes it's like when I'm in a certain state in my life, or I'm in then all of a sudden at certain points, it's like certain resonant points, it seems, that I kind of like, all of a sudden I see a whole bunch of friends from my youth, that I go to a certain place with a certain friend, and at the same time, in that one night, I meet up with a whole bunch of different friends from that same time period of my life in the past. And now when I arrived in Mauritius, out of coincidence, or you connected with me, and different friends from Mauritius connected me without actually knowing that I was back. So it was very interesting to see how these you kind of get to certain places in your life and you interact with certain people again, and then you don't speak to them for many years, and then you get back again, and all of a sudden it sounds like, yeah, it's very interesting. And here we are again having a random walk conversation. So it's interesting.
It's amazing, actually. And and things are random, but you still know they will happen. Actually, the random walk system, they use it in Google searches. They use it to predict stock exchange and all those things. So it's a forecasting model. So based on, let's say, data from day one we met, let's say, all right, and right now I can actually easily forecast and put my money on it that we'll have a talk like that again in the future.
Yes.
Okay. So data doesn't lie. It's like this.
Well,
and it's actually quite cool.
I think if you put money on it now, you'll be like 99% sure of winning your money, because on Monday, I believe we've got another talk.
Yeah, with Ashley this time.
Yeah. So I think it's a good idea we should put some money on this one.
Yeah, true. And you talk about energy, and I agree with that. And I look at life completely from a purely mathematical perspective. And when I talk to people, or if I analyze my really close friends, there's a big intersection, okay, in terms of values we have as human beings. So my close friends, for example, if I try to actually write down my 5 core values I have as a human being, is going to overlap over 75% with the other person. So, and it's very mathematical. There's nothing which is random. And the two of us, I can easily tell that the overlapping substance between the two of us is our open mind. You're very open to discussion. You're going to express yourself completely. I'm not going to stop you, and I'm going to do the same. So that's one of our core values. And we talk about energy and all that, but it's basically an overlapping of values, and the energy is how much you believe in those values.
Yeah.
And that's really amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I agree. And talking about the overlapping of values, each value that we entertain, whatever those core values are, let's say open-mindedness, this is how we can kind of cross paths and resonate together and chat again, because we are like entertaining these ideas and bringing each other into each other's energies, for example, into each other's spaces. So if I like to look at things like, outside of me is a reflection of me. So what I am resonating, like an antenna, I am resonating at this moment. That's kind of the screen, the holographic projection that I'm projecting comes from the energy from within me. And now coming into Mauritius, this is probably how, like, all of a sudden I arrive in Mauritius, and then I start to interact with people that I used to interact with here again, without them knowing that I'm here. It's just automatically in my energy, they've come up again, be it social media, via Facebook, but connecting with me again. So I've arrived in Mauritius, I'm thinking my Mauritian thoughts, I'm speaking more French, I'm smelling the Mauritian air, I'm aligning to that frequency or that state of being. And all of a sudden that state of being is attracting more people that is from my Mauritian experience.
Mm.
I mean, these are obviously, this is just how I'm kind of understanding it. So, and then you connect with me, and yeah, and this is how we can, like, co-create here in Mauritius. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the way I look at it is that you're very open to experiences. So that openness creates those specific experiences. Remember, before we started to record, we were talking about things happening in life, and then there are different people. Some people will shield themselves from the things happening, so they won't have the same experience. And some will open themselves to the things happening so that they have an enriching experience. But it's the same thing happening, but also without neglecting the fact that there are people in different contexts also. We can't compare our situation with people in North Korea, for example, where they are living a completely different reality.
Yeah.
But I think the point is that some people prevent themselves from having enriching experiences, I think.
Yeah. I think it just comes to the simple, like, it's like looking at the cup half full, half empty. So like, if I see a cup half full, I will experience it, more, more, let's say, harmonious, because I see. So any circumstance that is happening, for example, I mean, a good example is COVID, for example. A lot of people, similar circumstance in the sense of COVID is the core, everyone's going through their own unique set of experiences. Let's say someone loses their job, for example. The person, the optimist, or the person that will probably have a more positive experience, will be the person that will be like, wow, this has happened to me. I've lost my job. Okay, one. But instead of going and shielding off and being, oh, this is terrible, I've lost my job, my life is screwed up, and going in that spiraling in that perspective, or they can kind of see it as like, you know what, I've lost my job. This is, I don't know what's going to happen next, which is exciting, because maybe I could create something that's even more harmonious, or something that I can do now. I can do something else that I've always wanted to do, or maybe a more exciting opportunity will come up. And just to, and that is a choice of how you choose to perceive what is going on outside. And then what you define the outside is ultimately what you're going to experience. So I think it's, as a humankind, this is a good opportunity to practice perceiving the outside world in a way that feels better. And that's a practice. You can redefine, look at, sometimes if you're defining something in a negative way, you can just sit down with yourself and say, what do I need to believe for me to be responding to this way? And you can say, okay, well, I see this belief. If I've lost my job, that means I will not have money and I will not be able to eat. These are definitions. Or you can say, okay, well, I see these definitions or these beliefs. Now let me choose another belief that I can kind of entertain. Let's see where I can focus. Okay, I've lost my job. Well, because of this belief, maybe I'll find something better. And then, and then you can kind of work at refining the way you're perceiving the situation. And then when you automatically think of it, I've lost my job, you almost think, that feels good because of XYZ. And give that energy, and then you can allow that to be created, and then you can experience that.
Yeah. If you understand the fundamental truth that everything changes, nothing stays the same. If you understand that deeply, then actually that kind of thinking you explored makes sense, because everything changes and nothing is permanent. So even the job, the title you have, your body is changing. You get old. Nothing stays the same. So embracing change and knowing the way you experience reality is not stagnant. It's not static. That requires some courage and some wisdom deep inside to fully embrace it. Because as human beings, we cling to things. So you cling to people you love, but deep inside, they won't always be here. You get used to the work you're working at, but you never know what can happen. So you cling to things, but at the back of your mind, you need to know that things change. And I actually endorse that at a very extreme level. I'll tell you what I actually do. So usually when I meet people, then there are some people who you get really close to, let's say close friends, right? But at the back of my mind, there is like a little voice which tells me that, you know, one day that people may hate you totally. And this is a possibility. What I'm trying to tell you is that there are some people who just look at the rosy side of things. But me as a person, there is a voice in my head which tells me, you know, that people may backstab you and it can happen. It is a possibility. Even if it's one person, it's something that can happen. You may just lose everything one day. So I think having that bit of, it's not negativity, but objectivity to your perception of life, I think is important. Sometimes we think that, you know, it's nothing bad will happen, but bad things happen, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
tell you something. I'll just give you an example right now. I've got a very close friend who's got an amazing job right now, okay? But at the same time, got the news that the father is going to die. Two extremes in one week, in the same week. And that's the way I look at life, you know? It gives you a gift and then it stabs you it backstabs you. And we need to be prepared for both. I think that's a point.
Yeah, I mean, how I would perceive that, I think life gives you what you need. So for example, you get this great job, and that's, you know, you feel grateful for something that's you know, something that you label as it's a positive and that's a great job. That's great. The fact that that person's father is going to die, from his perspective, obviously can be quite hurtful, or it's quite sad, or because obviously of his attachment. But at the end of the day, change is the only constant. So it's a blessing that inevitably the father, or people do pass on or transcend. So having a blessing and being grateful for the blessing and being thankful for the life that that person brought about, and has made the person who's now going to be entertaining that new job the strength to be a better version of himself, to be able to take on that job confidently, and yeah, I think, and it's also, you can see it as a blessing because at least his father is transcending, and at the same time he's been given a gift to pursue. So I mean, there's many ways of seeing it. You can, and then that person can also perceive it as like, I got this new job, and now my father's passing on, which means I'm going to be useless at the job because I'm just going to cry every day, and you know. And then you can see it like that, or you can see it like, yeah, you know, there's many ways of seeing this, and of course it's all very unique to the person's perceptions. But from someone such as myself that is not emotionally attached to that situation, I can kind of overall look at it as something very, very beautiful, because it's a blessing together with, it's two blessings. But obviously from that perspective, having a family member pass on is not great. But at the same time, it strengthens us, and that's part of life. You know what I mean? So it's and it strengthens us. So, and as you said earlier, you don't want to be attached to anything outside of you. So ultimately you want to observe it neutrally. So even the positive job, or you win $1 million, and these are neutral circumstances. So yes, it feels exciting, but at the end of the day, you're just witnessing it all, and remaining in a space of gratitude for all that is happening, whether on the human level that's a positive or a negative. Ultimately it's all neutral. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know that there is a joke in among Zen folks, telling you that, you know, when you feel extreme pain, you should be grateful because you're still alive to feel the pain. So you can be grateful about that. So no matter what thing is happening to you, you can always be grateful that you're still alive. That's why you're feeling all those things.
Exactly. And I think how I perceive pain at the moment, I think, like, I've been doing a lot of like distance sports, meaning distant running, or distance cycling, or training, because I feel that pain actually strengthens me. For example, if running distance, for example, let's say you run a certain distance you've never done before, and you're running, and you feel the pain in your legs, you feel the pain in your knees, you feel that, then it's almost like once you've done it, that pain has now expanded your mind, strengthened your mind because you're willing to tolerate that, to transcend, to become a better version of yourself. You're not going to get stronger by, I mean, I think you need to suffer a bit in order to find peace, like I think that's, I mean, I know myself when I've done something that I've never done before, and I'm tired, and in that space of running or cycling, and I feel that burn, and I'm like, it feels terrible, this pain is almost unbearable, but you go through it anyways, and then you get home and you just sit back and you feel your legs, you've worked, I feel almost like a sense of peace. And I feel that's one way to turn lead into gold. You need to go through that's what we label as pain to reap the rewards of bliss.
Okay, I think right now it's the right time to introduce what we're going to talk about, which is rap music, right? Because okay, I'm not into rap music as such. I don't listen to rap, but I mean, not like you. But when I listen to a rap song, my first impressions are that it's about pain. It has a context. I'm talking about proper rap, okay? Like the Eminem you actually listen to. I actually listened to Marshall Mathers. Was that the right name of the album?
There's
Slim Shady.
This is Slim Shady LP, Slim Shady EP, Marshall Mathers, and there's quite a few.
I've listened to that. I've listened to the first 3 albums, I think, when I was younger.
Yeah.
So when I listen to them, there are qualities in rap songs which are very appealing to me. And the first one is the ability to communicate openly in an uncensored way how you're feeling. You're not repressing it. You're saying it the way it is, as you feel. Okay, that's the first quality I find in proper rap music. Okay, the second one is being very authentic, even about the most negative aspects of yourself. You're not trying to change it to make you feel better. If you're feeling very bad about something, you're feeling very bad. And I think Eminem, in one of his songs, he speaks about wanting to kill his wife. I think the song is named Kim, if I'm not mistaken. I did some research, okay, Damien?
That's awesome.
So it can go to that extent. And when I think about it, during my dark times when I was younger, I actually visualized punching someone in my head, okay? And that actually became a song because I wrote about it afterwards during my university days, So I kind of can connect to what Eminem was feeling when he was writing that thing. Now, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to do those things, but it's actually communicating the way it is and actually enjoy. I'm going to tell you that when my close friends tell me that, I'm going through some dark stuff right now, and then I tell them, okay, tell me about it. And then I see that resistance to actually curse or swear when they're actually talking about it. I say, if you want to curse, do curse. I want to listen to it. Now, it doesn't mean that I enjoy listening to people cursing, but it's just that that's the feeling right now for them. So if it makes them feel okay cursing, why not? I'm fine with that. So in rap music, you're actually given the platform to communicate in that authentic way with the cursing, with the negative feelings. And once you've gone through all of that, it allows you to be creative also because you play with words, you give context, you give deep meaning to what you're actually living. So when you go through all of that, at the end of a rap song, if you've listened to it, you've gone through it, you actually feel peaceful. And actually find that it's a great human experience. And before you talk about it, I'm just going to link it to a study the University of Cambridge did. Okay, I'm going
Yeah.
to read it to you. Okay, and then you tell
Yeah.
me. So,
Okay.
so the University of Cambridge, okay, studied rap music and the influence of rap music on people. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to read an extract from that study. Okay, so it
Yeah.
tells you that freestyling puts the brains of the rappers into a unique flow state. Okay, that triggers parts of the brain responsible for emotion, language, motivation, motor processing. This type of stimulation can greatly improve the lives of people dealing with neurological illnesses. So that's the University of Cambridge for you.
Yeah. That is, I mean, I completely resonate with that, and I think most of the things that you said, I can share my experience with mostly Eminem. I do listen to a lot of rap. I am open to a lot of different rappers, but I think the rapper for me that I've resonated with since, I mean, since like I'm like 10 years old has been Eminem, right through till well today, and there was a time where I listened a little bit less, but it was always there. I think for me, it was always just something being able to. It's an art form. So being able to express oneself, one's struggles, and as you say, the Cambridge study, it like almost rewires your brain. So I think someone such as Eminem experienced such like quite a dark, what we would say, a dark childhood, a very, and there was no hope, there was no light, and then
Mm,
through rap he was able to find that spark inside of himself which he could fuel using rap. He could feel, he started to have a voice, he started to see the light in, that's how I perceive it, and he started to, from that really dark place where no one respected him, he didn't respect himself in a sense, he wanted to commit
mm,
suicide and all these type of things, he started finding something that he enjoyed, all right, and then started taking action on that, and then that started evolving into something where he had his sense of freedom, where he could
mm,
express himself, and he found himself through that expression, and then and then by following that, by following that excitement, it grew, and that little spark turned into a flame, and that flame turned into a fire, and obviously it started blazing, and then I think that's where I started catching on to his music, was when the fire was blazing, was where the Eminem show, after that's when I had my first interaction with his music. I remember it like it's yesterday, but anyways, I ran to the DJ while I was playing soccer, and I just went and I asked him, like, who's this, and they showed me the CD, and I was like,
mm,
okay, great. It was the CD. At the same time, they showed me 3 CDs. Eminem was
mm,
playing. I saw the Eminem show, and then they showed me 3 CDs. The other one was Limp Bizkit, and the other one was Linkin Park.
mm,
Linkin Park or Red Hot Chili Peppers, not too sure. But
mm.
my one, I got back home like a few days later, went straight to my mom, like, Mom, this is what's gonna happen now. We are gonna go and buy this Eminem. We're gonna go and buy this Eminem CD. So we did, and yeah, I would get back home every day and listen to track number 4 on the Eminem show, and every day after school, I would pump it up as loud as I can, listen to my Eminem, and then yeah, I just resonated with it, and how it helped me in my life. It just gave me that, I kind of like, for me, it was always that like, just something that gave me that extra energy. I could feel that confidence that he got through it. And, I just I was learning the lyrics. I enjoyed it. And it was just something that I enjoyed doing in my time. But I think, yeah, so it gave me that kind of sense. Obviously respect the artist. Even at school, at Northfields, after I did like a public speaking competition, and then I first spoke about cell phones and the possible effects
Mm.
on the human brain, and then made it through, and then spoke about Eminem, which I don't know. Should have been. It's more that will to succeed. It's that will to succeed, and I think he is the symbol of that. The fight against all odds. To have faith in what you just go with it. And okay, so being that being said, now again, that blazing fire, he was a celebrity from being poor and living in the streets, or being poor and being beaten up, all of a sudden becoming famous, you know. And we all think, yeah, that's great, you know, he's made it and made it. But at the same time, all these things are blowing up in your life and you're like the star now, but at the same time, that comes with its own unique set of challenges. So again, then that fire is blazing and now you think you're on top of the world, but you know, reality catches up and you go through. And then he went through a really dark patch, taking drugs and all this type of stuff, and then he went back on a high. You know, you went on this high. He was at extreme low, went to extreme high, you know, making money now, life has changed, he's internationally known, making awesome music. So that's what he's communicating to the world. It's that exciting time. And then he went through that phase of kind of like on drugs, and that's when he started, you know, like didn't release a CD for a long time, couldn't really like communicate, and now the whole world is watching. Yeah, and then that's, but only I think after all that challenge and all that darkness and almost dying on drugs and almost all these crazy things that most of us don't really experience, but being able to now still, after however many years it is, 20 years, and coming out and releasing some of the most, you know, like it's an art form, and releasing this art form, which is a communication of one state of being, and being able to communicate that through rap is an absolute gift, like for people such as myself, because like I'm taking the time to actually like research the lyrics, study the lyrics, because even myself during COVID, for example, being in isolation, I realized that like these lyrics, rapping the lyrics, or it puts you on a state of being, which is, and that's someone that's been through extreme darkness, has come out on top of the world and went straight back right into the darkness again. And then coming out with a more, you know, it humbles you, you know, you make it to the top and then you fall, as you said earlier, you can lose everything all of a sudden, come crashing down and burn to the ground, but it's how you come back up again. And I think that's again a symbol of perseverance, a symbol of against all odds, coming back up and making it to the top, no matter what your age is. So I look at Eminem for me as like a legend like many others. Like there are many other legends, such as your Tiger Woods has own set of challenges. He's another legend will be like for like Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, breaking the 36 years old. Eminem's 46 years old and still on that rap game. And it's art, and I'm in the financial world or investment world, and who would have thought that Eminem would help someone that's in the investment world? And it definitely assists me in reading quicker, studying quicker, and help my brain. It feels like it's just more progressive. So during COVID, studying those lyrics and rapping it put me on a state of feeling great. And yeah, so there's a whole combination of ways that Eminem, for me, some people perceive it differently, don't enjoy it, but for me, it's been a really positive experience, learning, studying the lyrics, and just like a symbol of perseverance against all odds. You can do anything you set your mind to. He says it in his music, and you can feel it. And yeah, that's what a legend, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you. But you know, the cynics will still say that it's violent music, isn't it? It's aggressive. And I've just read you one extract from the University of Cambridge. Now let us look at another one, which is not as positive as the first one about rap music. Okay, and then we'll try to balance both.
Yeah.
So we've got another study now, which appeared in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. Okay, volume 84, number 5. I'm just going to read you 3 lines from it. It concludes that violent song lyrics increase negative emotions and thoughts that lead to aggression. And you have the Iowa State University and Texas Department of Human Services, which found out that aggressive music lyrics increase negative thoughts and feelings which turn into aggressive behavior and have long-term effects, developing aggressive personalities. And they studied a group of youngsters over a few years, and they saw that they were more involved in negative behavior, and that's their conclusion. Now, there is another extract. So these two things I've told you, they come from modern research mechanisms, right? University of Cambridge and then the Iowa State University. Now, there is something in ancient Greek, okay, which I'm going to read to you, which I find beautiful. That's why I'm reading it to you. So there is something called the catharsis hypothesis. And what does it tell you? It tells you that expressing aggressive emotion, okay, expressing aggressive emotion will later decrease aggressive behavior. So that's what people believe in ancient Greece. And now if I look at my own evolution from a teenager till now, actually believe more in what the ancient Greeks say rather than, you know, Iowa or the University of Cambridge. Because like you listen to rap music, which have a negative perception, okay, in the public about rap music. I listen to heavy metal. I mean, you know that really well. I listen to really dark heavy metal. Not as dark as death metal, but I listen to Metallica, Iron Maiden, Fear Factory. Linkin Park still soft compared to the stuff I used to listen to. So that's really dark stuff. And if I look at the way I am as a person, I would say I'm really caring, loving, compassionate, even if I listen to heavy metal. I'm actually more compassionate than the mainstream person who would listen to, I don't know, pop stuff or classical music. So, and to me, heavy metal, what it does is exactly what the ancient Greeks say. So you feel negative emotions. If you repress, it's bad for you. You need to take them out. And the only way to take them out is to express it in a very authentic way. And that's why when I speak to close friends, I tell them, you want to swear, you swear, I'm fine with it. And they actually do that. And I find that really beautiful because it's a very authentic way to communicate what you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
And I do it by writing. Sometimes the stuff I write is very dark, let's say, but it's authentic. And when I'm speaking to you, like I'm telling you, in my mind, I'm possibly expecting the worst case scenario where I lose everything I have right now. That's a possibility. You may say that I'm being negative, but no, in my mathematical brain, it's a possibility among a lot of possibilities. But it doesn't mean I think about it the whole day, everything is dark. No, we're talking about really positive things right now, but we are not neglecting the negative things. And that's what rap does. It throws everything to you in your face. That's what heavy metal does. But we're not saying that, you know, people can't be compassionate and love each other. That happens too. So it's actually the merging of the yin and yang.
Absolutely. Well, how the thoughts that are coming to my mind when we speak about that is art is meant to evoke feeling, whether it's a painting, whether it's music, whether it's whatever the art form is, it evokes emotion in humans. That's why we are attracted to art. That's why we want to communicate and we express through creativity. However we do it, whether it's classical music, whether it's rap, whether it's heavy metal, whether it's building buildings or whatever the case may be, it evokes feeling. Negative emotion and positive emotion are all forms of emotion. As you said now, yin and yang, they are all forms of emotion. We are just the ones who say, okay, that's negative and that's positive. At the end of the day, it's an emotion, which we feel. I think with rap music, I mean, it evokes emotion. Yes, it's communicated in a way which we perceive as, you know, there's cursing, there is the killing of this, there is the beating up of this, there is the whatever the communication is. At the end of the day, it is all within us. We've all had anger. We've all felt just wanting to kick someone. We've all been angry, wanted to punch. We've all felt it. But the point is that by the rap, which, for example, we're talking about Eminem, but Eminem, for example, he's giving us through his art the opportunity for that emotion to come up. And how we deal, because that emotion resides in all of us. That's why we intrigued by it. That's why we get angry by it. That's why people riot about it. So, you know, that's why nowadays people are angry with government, or people are angry with these movements that are taking place, because there's all these things that are sitting dormant within us. And these artists are, or your boss or your employer or they evoke emotion, and we can perceive it however we want to. But we're talking about Eminem, he evokes some emotion in people, and it's an opportunity to transmute that into whatever it is you want to transmute it into. I think I've just learned, for me, maybe when I was young, I would get angry the way he would. I would maybe become more. I think what the message that I got from when he was young and what I resonated with at that time was that I just don't give a, you know, I don't care. I don't care what people think of me. I'm going to be me. Critiqued or worshipped, I'm going to be me. And that was his message at Marshall Mathers. That's his character. Or he also had the demonic side of him, which was Slim Shady. And Slim Shady would say and do what he wanted to say. And I think I latched on, I really resonated with that. I thought I like that. I think that's how we should be. You know, we shouldn't care. We should be true to who we're all unique. We shouldn't need to conform into this box that everyone else thinks you need to be. So Eminem was like, you know, he really represented that. I just don't give a fuck. Like, you know, he doesn't care what people think. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to say what I want to say. I don't care if people are rioting outside saying that I need to. So that was people, the rioters or the people hating on him, they were hating something inside of themselves. And that's where it was, he allowed that to come to, the world is evolving. And he gave people the opportunity to transmute that hatred which was inside of them. And now, and you know, so I think that's what art is. So Eminem, for me, like now I perceive it as something that reinforces my state of being into, you know, more confidence, into more maybe clarity, into more, you know, because I sense that's what the opportunity gives me, brings that up, and I can direct that energy to wherever I want to go. And I think by his experience and the way he communicates allows me to, you know, try and move that energy in a very powerful way, because Eminem is a very powerful, to be able to share a message to the world and make everyone listen in a very, I mean, he says like hundreds of words within 3 minutes, and people listen and listen again and again and again, you know, so and that's very powerful. So I think, and people that are still finding the negative of it and are experiencing the negative of it, that is an opportunity for them to bring up that negativity within them, transmute it, and carry on going forward in their own lives, as opposed to getting stuck and dissing the artist or hating on the artist, because ultimately they're just hating an aspect of themselves. So yeah, but that is Eminem. Eminem has his own way of doing it, and yes, it's not always like perceived as something positive, or you know, the language in which he uses that like that he knows how to trigger people with using words like his latest album is music to be murdered by, and because that's his way of murdering a beat, his way of killing it, saying that, like, you know, he's murdering the beats, he's the best. He, like, this is the rap game is all about, like, it's like a rap stands for rhythm and poetry. From what I've heard, it comes from the slave, which is why it was predominantly black, because back in the day, with regards to the slave trade, the slaves used to go in a ring and hate on themselves. That's how, and that's how that evolved, and then it became where they were dissing each other. And so it's a game. It's like football, you know, you have to score goals, and the more goals you score against the other team, you win. And I think that was the rap culture, where you kind of prove that you're the best, and you know, and that gives you confidence, builds your skill level, because you're competing against others. But now Eminem is not, he talks about not competing against anyone else anymore, but he's competing
Mm.
against his demons. You know, that's his
Yeah.
ultimate, and that's who he's fighting against, or that's who he's, you know, battling against, or his competition is no longer the other rappers, it's himself, which is pretty awesome, you know. So yeah, I think it's more of it's how you use it. People can get caught up with the lyrics, which I know it's some of it's quite wild, but at the same time, that's the art form, you know. That's the art form, and that's where I think it takes a level of maturity to see it for what it is and respect it. And if you don't like it, don't listen, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that ultimately um, that's the whole purpose of rap? It's to help you to fight your inner demons. I know people exercise for that. For example, I know Joe Rogan, who tells you that he works out a lot because he's actually fighting that voice in his head. As you know, he's a fighter. He does podcasts and all that. And I used to run also to vent a long time ago, and I write now because it's a way of expressing myself. I would write anything that comes to my mind. It can be really positive, it can be dark at times, and ultimately, I think at one level it's about expressing yourself, like you're saying, and at a deeper level, it's actually it's a sort of healing process.
Yeah.
When you really talk about those dark things, it can be in the form of a painting, it can be in the form of rap music, like you're saying. But when you take that stuff out, it's only then that you're actually creating space for good things in your life. So you do really need to take that stuff out. And there's not always people to listen to you. So I think that's where rapping or writing becomes so important, because you can do that alone. Because people are judgmental by nature, isn't it? It's very rare to have someone who will listen to you in a non-judgmental way. And I think that's why there's a high rate of depression among people, or the suicide rate is high, because people, I was telling that to a friend last time, people don't have close friends who will be there during their times of need, you know, and actually have that compassionate ear to listen to whatever thing you're going through. I mean,
Yeah.
we have counselors and all that, but it's business, isn't it? It's not the same kind of human connection. So if people really accepted themselves the way they are, and I think, to me, that's a hypothesis, but to me, when people really accept the way they are fully, the Eminem way, let's say, it's only then that they can have a deep appreciation of who others are.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's when you can really connect to people in a very pure way, I would say.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I think, you know, I mentioned, like, what I've understood from Eminem's story is the journaling. It was a very like kind of like a lonely upbringing, from what I, you know, I don't know of, but what I've heard is that, like, lonely
Yeah, the
upbringing.
mother was on drugs and all that when he was very
Yeah,
young, from what I've heard.
exactly. Very young, on drugs, and always in like a hood where you're like 8 Mile, very predominantly black hood environment, and you are in that
Yeah.
environment, blue eyes type white guy, getting beaten up a lot. So you kind of feel like very insecure, whatnot. And then he found his, you know, his freedom in writing. I think that's how it started, in writing rhymes and writing. And so that became his place of refuge, in a sense, writing down. And then that's, you know, he could free his mind a bit and tell a story or communicate how he was feeling, and then eventually put that in the art form of rap. And then obviously that emerged, and still to this day, it's always writing down in notebooks, notepads, getting yourself out of, as that art, Eminem, the artist, always communicates what he's going through. So then, as I mentioned, there was like the Marshall Mathers, the Eminem show, and after that there was Encore. And afterwards there was a period of no CD, or there was no, and then after that came out Relapse. where he was relapse in drugs and that whole scene. And then after relapse was recovery. So I think all these, you know, these CDs that were coming out was like, it's the journey of his life put into music. And that's him writing down a story to himself basically and getting him through. And that's why I think it's, you have this sense of this feeling of a lot of like strength that you can definitely tap into, which he's communicating. And you mentioned Joe Rogan earlier, and then one of his latest songs, Joe Rogan obviously is very affiliated with UFC, the fighting space.
Yeah, he's a fighter.
Yeah, so there is a song that Eminem's also released now on his latest CD, which is the Music to Be Murdered By Side B. Deluxe Side B version. And in there's a song called Higher. And the video has got to do this UFC where Dana White talks to Eminem on part of the song. It's about breaking ceilings, going higher than he's ever been, you know. And he talks, and on there, Dana White, which is the UFC, I don't know if he's the founder or whatnot, but he's the main guy who speaks when there's the fighters and they come and do the standoff. And then Eminem's doing in that, Dana White's there, and then he's on the news, and Dana White gives his perception and says, yeah, Eminem is a tough guy, whatever, but he doesn't think that Eminem will be able to take on this challenger. And then normally when two fighters sit on each side of Dana White, the one side is Eminem or Marshall Mathers standing there, and then the other side is is his demons sitting there. And Eminem's kind of battling or fighting with that demon, and you can see, and he talks to Dana White, he's like, you know, the one thing about you is that to Dana White, he says, the one thing about you is that your opinion doesn't matter. And if every fighter had to listen to your opinion, they wouldn't be where they are today. So yeah, that's kind of the message that he gave, using the UFC as a platform to communicate the similarities between the fighters that are in the UFC with the rap game. So that's a very interesting kind of comparison to kind of see how it works. Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, it's a bit similar. I don't know whether he got inspired by the Rocky movie, but that's very similar to I can't remember which movie it is, but it's very similar to the Rocky movie where he fights the Russian guy, and in the ring while he's going to fight, you know, it's a fight between two countries, the US and Russia, and then the Russian fighter, I can't remember the exact scene, but he says that, you know, I'm not fighting for the country right now. I'm fighting for me. So to hell with the connection with Russia or whatever. It's my fight with the other guy. It's not two countries fighting right now. It's me fighting for myself, you know? And to me, it's similar to whatever you've just explained. And that's how I look at life too, you know? At the end of the day, you're born alone, you're going to die alone. And along the path, we're going to meet people, we're going to create families, you know, all sorts of things will happen. And no matter how much people love you or support you, or whatever happens around you, ultimately, it's your fight. It's your fight, it's your decision making. It's your path, and it's you. And people have to really understand it fundamentally, that we are born alone and we'll always be alone, even if we're surrounded by people. It's good to connect with people, but you first of all need to really accept you the way you are. Absolutely. And once this is done, then things work out. If you're looking for people to complete you in a way, things are always going to go to hell at some point, because there is some insecurity inside of you, which will actually kill anything good which may potentially happen in your life. So first of all, you should be really okay being alone on your own, and really have that control in your life, that you need to make the decision, you need to do this, you need to do that. and to hell if people support it or no. And when I say that, it's really at a very deep level. It means saying, no, I don't care about my parents' opinions about it. I'm still going to do it. I have to do it. I don't care about, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my husband, my wife, whatever. That's what I feel I need to do. I'm going to do it. And ideally, while you're living such a life, where you're driven by your own dreams and motivation, ideally, you'll have someone who actually understands you. And that would be the ideal people to have in your life in terms of friends or whatever, okay? A romantic partner, whatever. But the roadmap would be always to be you, like Eminem did. And things will crash, things won't work out. But since you are you, you'll have that strength to keep going, keep taking the punches and actually keep going, keep going, keep going. And eventually, we don't know whether it will work out or no, but you'll still be you and you have that strength to keep going till the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, we all go through moments of darkness where we feel like, but that's in order to understand ourselves, we go experience that or feel that so that you can kind of fill it up with loving yourself again. So, so it's like it's the further away, like a bow and arrow, the further into your darkness you can go. And when you let that go, it goes that much further into the light you go. So it's just a balance, keeping it balanced. Eminem's case is obviously went super much in the dark, then let his arrow go, went all the way to fame and experienced all these things. And then all of a sudden the pendulum swings, So it's not about extremities. It is, that's what happens, but it's about balancing that. So it's a more consistent, smoother ride, where I think his ride was, dark, light, back to dark. And then, but it's about building again and getting yourself to that state, which I think what I've understood now, he is very much, or what I see through his music, it's very calm. It's not really hating people, but more hating. It's just more of that like God-like. Well, he talks about like this song's called Zeus. It's almost, he's again, I don't know his character, but I know that his music, what he's giving off, the feel I get from the music is very much balanced, high level, communicating the art, and it's all about the art, and it's all so now it's so exactly. So staying true to yourself, I think some of the key elements or key pointers that we can take away from a legend such as Eminem, given this is the Eminem topic, which I always enjoy the conversation, to be honest. But I think some of the key takeaways is just to kind of remain true to yourself, as you said, and just kind of and go forward in that light and trust your judgments, and everything will fall into place when you stay in that harmonic.
Because what's beautiful. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. When you are true to yourself, when you are being yourself, when you make mistakes, you own it because it's your mistake. Whereas when you live a life where, let's say, people told you, let's say your parents told you, you need to do that, you need to become a lawyer, you need to become a doctor. When things don't work out, you know what happens? People blame their parents, or they blame the people who guided them. It's your fault that I'm in this hell now because I did what you said. But when you're doing your stuff, when you mess up, which you're going to mess up, everyone messes up, right? So when you mess up, you own it. Yeah, I messed up. And then you get up, you try to fix it, you learn. There's no hatred, or there's no blaming others, because it's your thing. Exactly. You get punched, you deserve the punch, and then you keep on going. So that's the way I look at it. You own it. So it's about accountability, and it's about owning your shit.
Exactly. And I think it's from, that simple thing is just turning stop playing the victim and turn into being the creator. Well, I think a lot of people blame the outside. That's playing the victim state, and turning that to becoming the creator. So I think that's a lesson that I think a lot of people are still playing the victim, blaming, pointing fingers at everyone else, instead of taking taking what the mistakes themselves, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So when you point a finger outside, remember there's 3 fingers pointing straight back at you. And that's I think is very important just to realize. And that's what I think the world we're heading into, like, you know, that's the challenges we face. Instead of blaming outside, it's about taking ownership, accepting, and then going forward and realizing that, okay, I'm creating this. How am I going to go forward? How I'm going to learn from my mistakes and keep going, and seeing, you know, chase whatever the vision is, but you're never really chasing anything outside or any vision, because basically you're just aligning to the frequency that you want to experience out there. So I think a lot of people don't maybe know that, but in the case of Eminem, for example, is that he followed the excitement. It was maybe easier for him to follow that because everything else was dark. So so it was easier for him to follow that breadcrumb trail of excitement. And then, yeah, that's how obviously experience what he experienced. And I think a lot of people nowadays, we have a lot of choices. We're very privileged. We can be this, we can do this, we can, you know, we can study this. We've got all these options. But sometimes when you're in a really dark place, you don't have many options. And something that ignites your passion and you want to achieve something really big, then you'll follow that with all the might that you have. So yeah. That's I think, again, how I take a lot of inspiration from that type of individual, or that character, which we label as Eminem / Slim Shady / Marshall Mathers. It's all different different sides of a similar coin. Yeah.
True. Damien, we've talked for more than 1 hour.
All right.
I'm going to yeah, I mean, we can talk the whole day, man. I know.
Yeah.
I'm going to end. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to end on talking about gratefulness, and I'm going to ask you whether you want to wrap to end the session also, because our common friend Ashley told me that it will be a good idea to actually end the session with you rapping a bit.
Okay.
Since you talked about people not realizing how lucky they are, I'm just going to bring the theory of relativity to whatever we're discussing right now. So even if we've lost, if someone has lost a job, and let's say there's still the possibility of actually finding a job, right? And there's still the possibility of making an effort, trying to improve your life. And now let us compare this person to someone who is in North Korea right now. And I'm talking about North Korea because I've been reading a lot about what they're doing. There is actually a refugee called Park, a lady who managed to run away from North Korea, and she's being she settled in the US right now, and she's been doing interviews a lot, so you can read about that. And she tells you that it's so bad in North Korea that you've got mothers who are actually selling their children to China as sex slaves. Not because they want to make money out of it, it's because actually as a sex slave in China, you will still be alive rather than stay in North Korea and die of starvation. And in North Korea, you're not allowed to express love, even to your wife or to a friend. The only love you can actually express, or saying, okay, I like you or whatever, is you can only express love towards the dictator and not to any other human being. So if we compare our lives with all the nonsense happening and all the trauma, let us compare our lives to the life of someone there right now, or someone who was in the World War II, for instance, where there was no food on the table, or if you were not with the government, let's say, they would kill your families and children. Are we really in a bad spot? It's all about relativity, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, again, that is a very big opportunity for us to realize all that we do have. In that sense, you know, I mean, you mentioning that to me just reinforces my gratitude for the experience that I'm experiencing where I am right here, right now. So I'm very grateful for the experience that that they have ultimately, that they are currently in for, I say this with like, I'm very grateful for being able to see the position that I'm in. Obviously for them, I send a lot of compassion and love. That is their experience, and maybe on some higher level, it's all experiences that we come onto this earth and we are experiencing the experience, and everyone has a unique experience, no matter how dark, no matter how beautiful, it's all relative. So I would, a lot of people, I don't feel saddened by it. In fact, I feel reinforced, strengthened by it. And I think through gratitude for what I have. So those souls that are experiencing those challenges, I feel a lot of thank you to them for going through what they are willing to go through, so that and then I can recognize the position I'm in. So I haven't really researched it, so I'm kind of like just responding out of straight away. But at the same time, I just keep going forward, and where I will assist where I can if it's on my path. But thank you for letting me know, and I wish them well and blessings, and rock and roll.
Oh, you're going to wrap a bit before we end.
Yes, just load the clip, took the stills and hit both the grip. I hold him at shoulder whip, took a stab in the dark and broke the tip of my knife up, but your throat is slit, because I'm cutthroat to the utmost of it, the ultimate. I slit the poker chips fall where they were supposed to fit. Now those days are over. Scrapping change in sofas. Is that fine? Trying to change exposure. But what?
You still have it.
Stabbing trader Jofo. How about that? I'm paid as Oprah. Think I may have broke the scale because the wait is over. But wait, hold up, because they say I almost lost it. So I can go with a different one. Fill him with a venom and eliminate him. Otherwise, I'm made him. I don't want to hurt him, but I did him in a free rage murder again. But it would have been finna kill him. Motherfucking bodies in it, like everything. Sarah renegade. I'm here to make anybody want to would have penetrate, but nobody want it. But they're gonna get in anyways, because I'm beginning to feel like I'm mentally ill. I'm till a killer be killed. I'm a killer be the vanilla gorilla. You bring the killer with me out of me. Don't be the enemy. The demon who enemy. You receive an enemy. What stupidity be a bit of me is a bit of me of a spitter. When I'm in the vicinity, motherfucker, you better duck. You're gonna be dead. The minute running me. 100% of you is a 5% of me. I'm motherfucking finish you, but you're unfadable. You want to battle? I'm available. I'm blowing up like inflatable. I'm undebatable, unavoidable, unavailable. I'm uncontrollable. I got traded for the money. I'm paid him for. I'm not afraid of it. Man, stop. Look what I'm planning. I can go again. I can go all day.
There are some things which don't change. It's you and your passion for rapping. And there are lots of things which change, which is cool.
Yeah. So, well, this passion definitely has changed, because maybe a years I wasn't able to do that, for example. And so, as there's so much more art being released into the world, and obviously I freestyle myself, like just play around with it, put a beat on, and I can like jump on a beat and like do what I want to do when I want to do it and be free, like a cracker, no matter the weather. Like you can just kind of play around with anything and tell your story. But given the fact that this is basically like a tribute to Eminem, I will rap some of his things that I've learned. And if ever he listens to this, Eminem, away dog. I'll check you soon, I'll check you soon. If ever you hiring, you need a recruit, my friend, I'm right here, dog. I'm getting ready. I'm practicing here. Lekker.
Oh dear. I just want to tell you how. I'm a bit teary. I just want to tell you how proud I am of you, Damon.
Thank you.
All these years, and you've grown into a really amazing young man, really open-minded, thinks deeply, and communicates clearly the way you feel. I think that's what the world needs.
Thank you. Blessings. I appreciate those good words, and I think that's mutual, as this is how we're having this conversation in this moment in time. So from back in the day, and we still keeping in contact, and we'll probably see each other very soon.
Yeah, true. Okay, I'll see you on Monday with Ashley, which is going to be another amazing conversation. Yeah. Okay, see you.
All right, thank you.
See you very soon, Damien. Bye-bye.